What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Thursday, everybody. So yesterday I was going to do a video about NASA that I decided to leave for today because I wanted to put together a little more information about it. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2023, there was the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Independent Study Report by NASA. And if you guys didn't notice, none of them addressed the elephant in the room, which is that NASA, for decades now, they've had footage from the International Space Station and footage from Mars that has been tampered with, edited, and cut out during a live feed multiple times throughout the decades. There are moments where the live feed is going on and then an object appears and then the feed just gets cut off instantly. And they've always been called out for that, and they've never responded for that. And I don't know if you guys remember, but the former director of NASA, his name is Bill Nelson. He is this gentleman right here. And let me just play you this, see if you remember what he discussed back in that panel.
Somewhere out there, we will discover another medium-sized stony planet around a medium-sized sun or star at just the right distance, not too far, not too close, with a tilt in its axis that rotates, that has carbon, that will have a habitable atmosphere. If you ask me, do I believe there's life in a universe that is so vast that it's hard for me to comprehend how big it is? My personal answer is yes.
So that's not too bad, is it? But that's not the only thing he said on that panel. He also said this when he was asked about David Grush and about his statements from the hearing and about UFOs.
A half ago, Mr. David Grush said under oath in Congress that the U.S. government is in possession of UAPs and extraterrestrial life.
Did you see that on the right? That's James Fox. He recorded a lot of footage for his documentary, The Program, which coincidentally, it just released on YouTube Movies. So you guys might want to check that out if you're in Australia, the US, Canada, and I believe the UK. The movie's already available there, so you might want to check that out. But James Fox also asked some really interesting questions, but this is what Bill Nelson responded about David Grush.
How can you be sure at NASA that other parts of the U.S. government is being transparent?
I don't speak for other parts of the government, but I can tell you NASA, which I speak for, is open and transparent with our data.
Do you believe what Mr. David Grush said, or is he lying?
You would want me to give a personal opinion?
Yes, please.
Of what he said. What he said, if I recall having seen this on the nightly news, was that he had a friend that knew where a warehouse was that had an UFO locked up in a warehouse. He also said he had another friend that said that he had parts of an alien. Whatever he said, where's the evidence? Is my response.
Excuse me. He also said that he did interview over 40 employees at the Pentagon.
Long time ago, there was a TV show, Jack Friday, and he used to say, just the facts, just the facts. Show me the evidence.
Thank you, sir.
Wow. And since then, Bill Nelson is no longer with NASA. There's a new head of NASA who is an interim right now. His name is Sean Duffy. He's the new Secretary of Transportation. And he was just yesterday at a hearing where they asked him about everything related to transportation and infrastructure of the country. But there was right at the end of the hearing, there was an interesting addition from a congressman who you all know, who, as I keep saying, he's the gift that keeps on giving. Representative Eric Burlison dared to ask a question to a sitting NASA chief for the first time ever. And it has to do with these videos and these photos that NASA allegedly has, and they allegedly have never agreed to show to the public. And I'm just going to show you the exchange right here. I want to clarify something. When I was looking for this, an account on X that clips a lot of different stuff about UFOs. His name is Kosher, Spooky UFO. It's on X with 3 O's, I think. He was the one who directed me to this exchange because he posted the clip. When I tried looking for the entire hearing, I was surprised to see some of the most important mainstream media outlets that didn't include this part. And I'm talking about AP, and I'm talking about others. PBS did include it. Forbes did include it. So I am including the Forbes one here. So you guys can see the exchange. And so you guys can see history in the making, because as far as I'm concerned, this has never happened before. No congressperson has ever asked a NASA sitting chief, although it's an interim one, about these photos and videos. And then afterwards, I'm going to tell you a story that I've told before, but I'm going to refresh the memory of everybody, of an exchange that I had with a NASA person from the communications department, which is also very interesting and disappointing, I would say. So here is Representative Eric Burlison asking Sean Duffy this question that everybody has wanted to ask a NASA sitting chief for decades, and it finally happened.
Back, Mr. Burlison, you're recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Secretary Duffy. You're doing a fantastic job. I'm over here. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And we're all proud of the work you're doing. I want to ask you about the 2-person rule on railroads, and I want to ask you about the DOGE efforts within your department or agency. But first, I want to ask a very simple question. So Mike Gold, who is a former NASA administrator,
Oh, one other thing about Mike Gold. When he presented at the UFO hearing in November, he was the one who took Matthew Brown's place, I believe. Either he or Michael Schellenberger, maybe both, because Schellenberger was the one who presented the Immaculate Constellation document. But that is Matthew Brown. You guys know this. What was funny, though, is that during that hearing, Mike Gold said that NASA was a paragon of transparency, which is absolutely not true. Based on what I showed you about Bill Nelson earlier, and based on everything that they've been hiding and tampering with for decades. So they're not a paragon for transparency, and they need to be way more transparent than they are. So I'm not attacking Mike Gold in any way. Actually, when he was on the panel subsequently in 2025, he was right next to Dr. Ana Brady Estevez presenting. His presentation was way better than the one at the hearing. And I would encourage you to go watch that on the UAP Disclosure Fund YouTube channel. I'm going to link it in the description so you guys can see that one. But yeah, that was really funny, because really, NASA, a paragon of transparency, NASA, never a straight answer, NASA? I don't think so. So based on that, and with that context, look at this question from Burlison. Look at the answer from Duffy.
He's come to Congress. He's spoken to us on the topic of UAPs. And he said that NASA has untold numbers of videos and photos and things that could be turned over to the public, or like a private agency or a nonprofit to comb through for using artificial intelligence to identify things. Would you be willing to work with me to make that happen?
So I'm happy to work with you. Again, today is my first official day, but I've spent it with all of you. I'm having a classified briefing on Friday over at NASA. Again, this is, I think, not just you, but I think America wants to know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to get more information, but obviously I'll coordinate and communicate with you as I get into the role.
Thank you.
That's encouraging, if you ask me, because Duffy at least is willing to work and play ball with Representative Burlison. And by now, I really have no doubt that Burlison is dead set on finding out what's going on. I do notice a slight difference, well, a major difference between the Burleson that we saw back in 2023 and the one that we've seen over the last 6 months or so, because he's been way more involved, asking way more niche questions about beings and going to Mexico to look at the Bugosphere and look at the giant tridactyl's hand. And he has resolved to do that. And that only comes after you are either exposed to some really sensitive information or you're just fed up with the fact that somebody is clearly lying to you. And I think that's what's happening with Burleson. Either one of those things is happening with him. He has said before stuff like, we know that the Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin's, for example, which is up for debate. He said that David Grush convinced him to look at the mummies more seriously or the tridactyls more seriously. And he's like said a bunch of different statements. He's the one who asked Dr. Eric Davis about the different types of alien species that have been reported over time. He's the one who asked the question. Essentially, he was being briefed by Eric Davis back then in front of the world. So I applaud Representative Burleson for asking this question to NASA. I think this is a step in the right direction. And I think that the answer from Duffy might change after that Friday classified briefing, because we don't know what he's going to be told. We don't know if he's going to backtrack on whatever he told Burleson that he was going to do in terms of working together. We have to wait until tomorrow, see what happens, but I don't think we're going to find out anything of what was discussed in that classified briefing with NASA. But I do think that there's a little more openness, at least when it comes to this. And I do think NASA is due for an explanation on why they have been so dishonest about this footage and about pictures and about cutting off live feeds from the ISS or from the Mars rover. That's a really bad look. And I'm just going to close out with a little story that I've told before, but I'm going to just tell it again. When I was first starting this show, I was already doing UFO related topics, and I was already starting to do the daily videos. And I was trying to get a person from NASA who works at the communications department, who used to be in high school with me. And this person, first, I told them that I wanted to talk to them, that I wanted to have them on the show. I sent them my channel. I could tell that they hadn't seen my channel yet until they arrived back in Tijuana on the day of the interview, no less, because they said yes initially, absolutely, because we've known each other for many years. And on the day that they arrived, I can tell the moment that they saw the channel, and they either changed their mind based on the content of my channel, or they asked permission to be on the channel and they told them no, because they called me initially and they were like, I just arrived in Tijuana. We can meet each other at a certain time. I can be at your house by this time. And I was like, cool, we're on. So I'm going to ask this person about all of this stuff. And I was really excited. And then like an hour later, they called me and they were like, you know what? I got a lot of stuff to do. I'm not going to be able to make it. And I was like, be honest. Were you told that you can't be on my channel? And they were like, the stuff you talk about in your channel has no proof whatsoever. And I was like, okay, so basically you were told that you can't be on my channel, weren't you? And they didn't respond. And that was that. And then afterwards, I saw a bunch of documents from the Black Bolt, from John Greenwald, who does amazing work. And they've published a lot of documents of NASA personnel that have been ousted as tampering with evidence and proven to be blocking evidence, blocking videos, blocking photos from UFOs or objects that are anomalous. And I sent them to this person. And I was like, what you did back then this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the channel, because I wanted to ask you about this. And I get that you're protecting your job security. I get it. But just know the type of institution that you work for. They're liars. Historically, they've been lying for decades. So that's the last time I ever messaged this person. I still have them on my contacts, but we don't have any exchanges whatsoever anymore because they work at NASA. And I understand they have their job to protect. I completely understand that. But I thought I just wanted to talk to you guys about this because I hope that the culture at NASA changes over time, because the culture, for example, in the military has changed and keeps changing. And at NASA, they're way more secretive because they have way more contact with low Earth orbit and with Mars and with the moon. And who knows what they have in their database. And another part that I think is important is that should Duffy really play ball on this, I think that one of the first things that NASA should do is to request a pardon for Gary McKinnon and for what he did back then that really cost him years of his life in litigation and legal fees and all that, because the US really went after him for exposing these secrets. And I think that what he did was heroic for humanity, and he deserves a pardon, full pardon. And I think NASA should be the ones who request it, because Gary McKinnon didn't do anything wrong. He just exposed the lies and all of the secrecy that is happening at NASA. So that's something that should happen. But let me know what you think in the comments about this exchange from Burlison and Duffy. Do you think Duffy will come through? What do you think about the former NASA chief, Bill Nelson, and his statements? And what do you think about my proposal of Gary McKinnon getting a pardon? Do you think he deserves it? Do you think he doesn't? Let me know in the comments. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in any other way, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can support us through KGRA, or you can become a member on YouTube. All of the interviews of the podcast are on every platform that you can think of. So you can go check those out as well. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. And remember, stay curious and inquisitive like Eric freaking Burlison. Always. Bye.